Welcome back to the Non-Skinnerian podcast, where we dive deep into human behavior, motivation, and how it all connects to our everyday decisions and interactions. I'm your host Roman Rackwitz, and today's episode explores a fascinating concept: how joy in production, what we call neural harmony, can impact customer behavior, loyalty, and even boost sales. We have all heard the phrase, do what you love and you will never work a day in your life. But what if I told you that loving what you do doesn't just make your work more enjoyable, it actually makes your work more valuable to others? Today, we will explore how your joy and passion for what you do can not only improve the quality of your work, but can also increase customer engagement, sales, and loyalty. In the first half of the episode, we will discuss how customers respond to the joy you show in your work and why this emotional connection matters. In the second half, we will dive deeper into the science of reciprocity, how customers feel compelled to give back when they sense your investment in what you do, and explore how neuroscience and dopamine play a role in shaping these emotional responses. Let's jump in. Let's start by talking about what we mean by joy in production, or neural harmony. Essentially, this refers to the pleasure a person gets from the act of creation or performing a service. It's not just about the end product, but about the enjoyment you get while working on it. Whether you are a chef, an artist, a consultant, or a salesperson, if you are really enjoying what you do, that feeling of joy can spill over into your customer interactions. Now, you might be thinking, sure, joy is nice, but how does that really affect business? Well, the hidden truth is that this joy doesn't just benefit you, it directly impacts your customers. When you are in a state of neural harmony, which is the brain's optimal state when you're fully engaged in enjoying your work, it changes how you communicate with others. It adds a layer of authenticity and passion that people can sense, often without realizing it themselves. The more joy and enthusiasm you express, the more likely it is that customers will perceive your work as something valuable, which leads to greater engagement and loyalty. Let's dive into some research. Recent studies show that customers are more likely to perceive a product or service as high quality if they sense that the person behind it is enjoying the process. This was demonstrated in various field studies, such as those conducted by Professor Danny Sain, which showed that when sellers express joy in their work, buyers are more willing to engage, are willing to pay more, and often leave with a more positive perception of the overall experience. Think about it. If you are at a restaurant and the chef comes out to talk about the dish they have prepared with enthusiasm and pride, you are far more likely to appreciate the meal on a deeper level. That joy amplifies your experience. On the flip side, if you feel like someone is just going through the motions, it detracts from the experience, no matter how good the product might be. This is a powerful insight into buyer behavior. When customers perceive joy, they not only enjoy the product or service more, but they also feel a deeper connection to the person behind it. So, how can we apply these insights to real-world business strategies? Well, it starts by communicating your joy. Too often businesses focus on making their products appear popular or high in demand, but they forget to emphasize the human element, the passion and joy that went into creating those products or services. In one study, sales ads that mentioned the seller's joy or passion for their work led to a 40% increase in click-through rates compared to standard ads. Why? Because people are drawn to authenticity. They want to feel that they are buying something created with care and enthusiasm. It's not just about selling a product, it's about selling an experience. When you show that you really love what you're offering, customers will gravitate toward you, not just because of what you're selling, but because they feel they are part of something real and meaningful. Let's look at some real-world examples. In the art world, artists who share their creative process, whether through social media, videos, or live exhibitions, often build stronger connections with their audience. Why? Because people aren't just buying the art, they are buying into the artist's journey and joy in creating it. Another example comes from the world of consulting. Consultants who express pleasure in solving problems and helping their clients build long-lasting relationships. Clients sense that the consultant isn't just ticking off tasks. They are personally invested in the success of the project, and that makes all the difference. This principle holds true across industries. Whether you are in hospitality, technology, or sales, your customers are looking for more than just a product or service. They are looking for someone who cares. Now, there's an interesting aspect to this. Skill level plays a role in the amount of joy you can express. High-skill tasks allow sellers to express their enjoyment more fully, which in turn can boost consumer interest and willingness to pay more. For example, a chef at a Michelin star restaurant is more likely to communicate the pleasure they derive from creating a dish compared to someone working in fast food. The skill involved makes the joy of creation more apparent. This is important for salespeople and marketers to keep in mind. If you're working in an area where skill is essential to the product or service, make sure that's part of your message. Talk about the effort, the expertise, and most importantly, the enjoyment that goes into your work. It's the combination of joy and skill that creates neural harmony, which, as research shows, can significantly enhance how your product or service is perceived. Now, let's explore the principle of reciprocity and how it connects to this joy in production. The principle of reciprocity is simple. When someone gives us something of value, whether it's time, effort, or attention, we feel a natural desire to give back. This concept, studied extensively in behavioral psychology, shows that when customers sense the effort and passion behind a product, they feel an emotional obligation to reciprocate. There's a strong emotional and psychological trigger in play here. When people believe you have poured your heart into a product, they are more likely to reciprocate by purchasing your product, advocating your brand, or paying more for what you offer. This emotional connection is where the real power of joy comes into play. One of the most well-known studies in reciprocity was conducted by Robert Cialdini. In a restaurant setting, when servers gave guests an extra mint after their meal, a small, thoughtful gesture, their tips increased significantly. Customers felt they had been given something of value and wanted to reciprocate by tipping more generously. When we apply this to business, it becomes clear that when customers see you enjoying what you do and putting effort into your work, they feel a similar sense of reciprocity. This can lead to higher sales, more engagement, and stronger brand loyalty. People want to support businesses and creators who are passionate about what they offer. Let's take this one step further and look at the neuroscience behind this phenomenon. When we engage in activities that bring us joy, our brains release dopamine, the feel-good neurochemical. Dopamine is associated with pleasure, the anticipation of reward, not the reward itself, that's a myth, but it's the anticipation of a reward, and motivation, which explains why we are naturally drawn to things that give us joy. This doesn't just happen in our brains. When someone witnesses our joy, whether it's in person, in a marketing video, or even in a conversation, it can trigger a similar dopamine response in their brain. This shared joy creates a positive feedback loop, enhancing trust, connection, and the likelihood that customers will engage with your product or service. Here's a concrete example. Imagine you are at a restaurant where the chef not only prepares a delicious dish, but also comes out to passionately describe how much they enjoy preparing it. You are more likely to appreciate that meal and feel a connection to the chef's joy. You might tip more, recommend the restaurant to others, or even pay a premium for that experience. This example highlights how joy and effort create value beyond just the product itself. When people feel your passion, they want to give back, and that's a powerful tool in any industry. One of the more interesting findings in research on joy and reciprocity is what we call the pricing asymmetry. While customers are willing to pay more when they sense your passion for your work, many sellers undervalue their products simply because they enjoy the process of creating them. There's a belief that the joy you experience reduces the perceived value of what you're offering, But this is actually a mistake. The reality is that your passion makes the product more valuable in the eyes of the customer, not less. When people sense you are in love with what you do, they attach a higher value to your work. This is where the power of reciprocity comes into play. They feel compelled to pay you what they believe your product or service is worth, which often exceeds what you might have thought. So, how can you apply this knowledge in your own business? Let's break it down into a few actionable steps. First, show your joy. Whether through marketing, social media, or direct interactions, make sure your customers see how much you enjoy what you do. Share your passion for the process, the story behind your product, and the personal connection you have to it. When people see the joy behind the work, they feel more connected to you and your product. Second, go the extra mile. Invest extra time and effort into creating personal touches for your customers. Whether it's a handwritten note, a personalized email, or spending extra time on a customer call, these efforts are what trigger reciprocity. It shows that you're not just providing a service, but that you truly care about their experience. Third, don't undervalue your work. Just because you enjoy creating something doesn't mean it's worth less. In fact, it's worth more. Recognize the value that your joy adds to the product and price your work accordingly. Customers who sense your passion will be more than willing to pay a premium for that experience. Fourth, encourage customer interaction. Create opportunities for your customers to see the process behind your work. Let them witness the effort and passion you pour into what you do. Whether through behind-the-scenes videos, live events, or social media updates, give them a peek into the joy of creation. This transparency strengthens their connection to your brand. To wrap up today's episode, we have explored how joy in production, what we also call neural harmony, can transform the way customers perceive your product or service. We have discussed how joy and passion, when communicated effectively, lead to a greater customer engagement, loyalty, and even higher sales. We have also dived into the science of reciprocity, understanding how customers are more likely to support your business when they feel you have invested time and effort into something you love doing. And finally, we have looked at how you can apply these principles in practical ways to increase your business success. So, whether you are a creator, a marketer, or a salesperson, remember this: your joy is your greatest asset. When you let that joy shine through, your customers will not only notice, they will want to give back. They will pay more, stay loyal, and advocate for you. Thank you for tuning in to the Non-Skinner End podcast. If you have found today's episode insightful, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this with others who might benefit from it. And as always, stay curious, stay passionate, and let your joy be contagious.